It's mid-August 2025, and me and my family are passing through Grand Teton National Park in order to get to our next destination on this mammoth journey. We wouldn't have a lot of time to be here, so we'd only be making one quick stop. That way we could at least check out the visitor center of the park before we left. So that's what we did. After which we all got back in the car and continued on driving towards our destination. That destination was Yellowstone National Park. Yellowstone National Park was the first national park to ever be established in the US, which happened back in March of 1872. Pretty quickly after entering the park, we came across this female elk roadside. I talked a lot about elks in the previous national park video I did back in the Rocky Mountains in Colorado, so you can go check out that video if you want to. The next day, we went out to explore the park, and the first attraction we came across was the mud volcano area, including this. This is Dragon's Mouth Spring, and it's the highlight of the area, spewing enormous quantities of steam into the air, with bubbling water below. Aside from the wildlife, Yellowstone National Park is very well known for its thermal features, and we'll be seeing a lot of both in this video. The first bit of wildlife that we saw was this American bison. I talk a lot about bisons in the Badlands National Park video I did a few months back, so you can check that out if you want. We're going to be seeing a lot of these guys later on, so stay tuned, and I do mean a lot of them. By far, one of the best wildlife encounters we would have during this entire trip happened pretty much immediately afterwards, when we came across this beautiful gray wolf roaming through the valley. Wolves are particularly hard to come by in Yellowstone, so this was a real treat. Hanging out alongside this wolf was this sneaky little northern harrier, which initially we struggled to identify, but after doing some research I found out what it was. We would cap off our first day in Yellowstone National Park by catching this group of female elk. And we would begin day 2 with a male elk. You don't want to see this full picture, by the way, it's a little gross. Soon afterwards, we came across a coyote in the exact same spot that we'd caught the wolf and the northern harrier the night before. Now, I should probably also mention where we're actually seeing all this wildlife. It's in a place called Hayden Valley, which is actually extra significant to me because my name, as you may have guessed, is Hayden. So it's really cool. The valley itself is named after a geologist, Ferdinand Hayden, who actually discovered some of my favorite dinosaurs as well, so it's a really cool place. And here's a couple more bison for good measure. Moving on from Hayden Valley, we soon arrive at a place called the Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone. It's an impressive geological feature, an enormous canyon with a beautiful waterfall that spills out into the Yellowstone River, which meanders through it. Certainly worth checking out. Next, we got back in the car and saddled up for a long ride all the way to Old Faithful to go and try to see it erupt. And then we took a wrong turn and ended up at the other most famous geyser in the entire park, which is Grand Prismatic Spring. This is also worth checking out. Unfortunately, because of that case of not knowing where we were going, we wouldn't end up seeing Old Faithful during this trip, but maybe we might come back sometime to maybe try and get another opportunity. Now we arrive in Lamar Valley, where there are just hundreds, maybe even thousands of bison. In the background here, you can see some of the males kicking up dust as they roll on the ground. This is a display of strength. It's August, and the rutting season is in full swing. Another animal that we saw plenty of in Lamar Valley were pronghorn. Bison and pronghorn were a prevalent animal that we saw a lot of in Badlands National Park in South Dakota. Again, you can check out that video if you haven't already. Like I said, there are just so many bison here in Lamar Valley. It is insane. In fact, I would wager a bet that if you wanted to see bison in America, go to Lamar Valley in Yellowstone National Park. You will immediately be successful, no doubt. My dogs were actually particularly fascinated by these things because they were looking out the window, they were just enthralled by them. There are so many bison here in Lamar Valley that if you plan to take your car literally anywhere here, expect to be stopped by a bison. In fact, this occurrence has actually been coined a bison jam, which is perfect. We experienced like 3 of them while we were here. Something else interesting we saw in Lamar Valley were these 2 male pronghorns that were locking horns. I don't think it was for a mating display. I think it might have just been the one was teaching the other how to do it for when the time comes. Back to Hayden Valley now, where we would catch this red-tailed hawk soaring the skies above the land in search for food. The next day, it was time for us to leave Yellowstone National Park to head to Montana. But although we were done with Yellowstone National Park was not done with us. First of all, while traveling through Hayden Valley one last time, we got stuck at a bison jam in Hayden Valley, which was a surprise. Then a few minutes later, we came across a huge group of people roadside. We quickly discovered that they were all congregated here because there was a bear. This enormous grizzly bear was just a few meters from the road and offered excellent views. Then, a few minutes after that, we came across an even larger group of people. We sent my mother out to take a look, and after about 5-10 minutes, she came back to the car with pictures of a wolf pack. This, after doing some research, I have found out is potentially the Waipithi Lake Pack. There's a lot of different wolf packs that have been introduced into Yellowstone National Park, and such is the name given to the pack that lives in Hayden Valley. Overall, Yellowstone National Park is probably one of, if not my favorite national park we've visited so far during the trip, and I hope you have enjoyed it. Now, do be aware that when we visited, the power at our campsite was out, so there was some trouble with that. But luckily, we had our own backup generator with us, so it wasn't too much of a problem, but you may have to account for that if you want to come here. That's it for this video, but be sure to stay tuned for the next episode of Natural Beauty.